The Pittsburgh Steelers won the AFC North, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are on their way to the playoffs. Paige Dimakos, we have Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers. Whose legacy needed this win the most?
I think it's Aaron Rodgers, and it's close that both of them needed it, and the heat has definitely been on Tomlin over the last, especially this last season. You were getting fired Tomlin chants going on this year inside the stadium, but the reality is he's still been a good coach. He's been above 500. He hasn't had the last few seasons that Aaron Rodgers has had. Aaron Rodgers has had epic failure seasons when he went to New York. All the conversation, the hard knocks, all the excitement, all the things that went into him being a Jet, and that to fail and to fail the way that it did. Honestly, I give him a lot of credit for coming back, coming like doing this move in general and fighting and scrapping his way to winning the AFC North, because at the end of the day, he's won a Super Bowl. He didn't really need to prove anything, but that's absolutely not the way I wanted a great in our game to go out. So I'm very happy to see this win, and I think Aaron Rodgers definitely needed it after how bad things were over the last few years in New York.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Mike Tomlin, and the reason is that for Aaron Rodgers, right, and players overall, like you can measure their greatness, right? You can simply look at
Mm-hmm.
statistics. You see them throw the touchdowns, right? You know directly what's associated to them. But for Mike Tomlin, him being the head coach, I think there started to be some gray area, right? And there started to be some conversation: was he propped up by the Pittsburgh Steelers organization? Was his success directly tied to Ben Roethlisberger, right? Was it guys like T.J. Watt that kind of held the defense down and kind of progress through that? Was he handed a kind of a golden ticket right from Bill Cowher and what Bill Cowher has built? And on top of that, he's even had former players say stuff, right? Just a couple weeks ago, we had James Harrison talk about Mike Tomlin is not a great coach. That doesn't make any sense, right? And I think it's an issue of you could have had it a lot worse in the NFL, right? Like sometimes you don't know what's good until you don't have that good anymore. And Mike Tomlin has proven time and time again that he's a really good coach. When they had a Hall of Fame quarterback, talking about Ben Roethlisberger, they had opportunities to win Super Bowls, right? When they've had average quarterback play, they've still been above 500 or they've made the playoffs. So I think you can't knock him. And then I look at what the Pittsburgh Steelers ran out there, Paige Dimakos. You didn't have DK Metcalf because he punched the guy on the sideline, right? And then now your starting wide receivers are you had Calvin Austin, who's 5'5", 155 pounds. Ben Skoranek, who's the only reason he's on the team, and this is no slight to him, he's a all-pro, Pro Bowl type of special teams
Special
player.
teams.
That's why
Yep.
he's on the field, right? And then you have Adam Thielen, who basically said, I'm done, right? I just wanted to go somewhere where I could potentially win in the playoffs. That's who he had to run out there wide receivers. And when you get a team to believe that they can still win despite the talent discrepancy, because the Baltimore Ravens, if you look at their roster, were the more talented roster, but you get a
Not
team to
close.
believe that they can win and fight tooth and nail, right? And score points to beat the Baltimore Ravens, then that's what a good coach is. It's motivation. It's not quantitative, right? You don't have a number for getting guys motivated, but Mike Tomlin does that.
Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers is the combination I didn't know that I needed to see, but I've
Mhm.
loved watching them this year. You can tell how much respect they both have for each other.
Key
There's
point.
been a lot of, yeah, just there've been a lot of moments where you've seen a different version of Rodgers, a more
What
reflective Rodgers. And that I think is a testament to how great of a coach Tomlin is, because Rodgers has had a tough time respecting his coaches in previous regimes, whether that was in New York, whether that was in Green Bay. You're talking about Mike McCarthy, Matt LaFleur.
Yep.
These are not bad coaches that he had. He had really good coaches. This is the first coach I think that Aaron genuinely respects and sees as an equal,
Mm.
as a football mind. And that really matters, because when you're coaching somebody who's as smart and as talented as Rodgers is, there were multiple throws tonight that I watched and went,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Yep.
I mean, he had to Pat Fryermuth a couple of times. But to your point, this was Aaron and the band of misfit toys.
Mhm.
That's what this was.
Yep.
That was this offense. And when you have, it's the reason why, and I'm so enjoying the comments section now that they've won the AFC North and are in the postseason. When I said that this team could win a Super Bowl, the reason I said that is because when you have a championship level defense, and when Cam Hayward's playing like he played tonight and TJ Watt's on the field, you have a championship level defense in tandem with a head coach and a quarterback who have been there, done that, and won it. They can win. they can win. And their running game has really come along this year. And in this game, it played a major factor because they literally did not have anybody to throw the ball to. So I think the nice thing, if you want to say a silver lining of the DK Metcalf thing, was it forced them to figure out different ways to get to distribute the ball because he was very reliant on DK this year. And I think they will look back and think of this as a blessing because they needed to be able to rely on other guys and have other guys step up. So, I mean, they both needed this for their legacy. I don't think either one of us would question either of these people, but the outside noise was very loud for both of these guys. And I'm happy that they got that win. You could see the sense of relief when Tomlin blows a kiss to the camera
Uh-huh.
at the end of Sunday night. I was like, yeah, Tomlin's feeling himself right now.
Yeah,
And
no,
I was happy
it
for
was
him.
similar to the LeBron James, kind of like the two pumps, right? Like the push
Yes,
down and then the chest beat. I might steal it. I started to start the show off with that. To be completely honest, that might be my new draft club tribute right there, the little Mike Tomlin tribute. But yeah, I'm right to like listen. Both of those guys deserve all the credit. I think it's going to help both of their legacies, right, moving forward because
for
it was a
sure.
big time win, and you can tell that came down to experience and guys with guts winning that football game, right?
100%.
Aaron Rodgers on one side of the football offensively, and then Mike Tomlin firing his troops up, getting them ready to play football. And it's like, you know what? No matter what, we're just going to believe. But Paige Dimakos, let's transition, right? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers won. The Baltimore Ravens lost, right? It might be one of the most disappointing situations in all of the NFL. But I want to ask this. The Baltimore Ravens bringing it down to the wire on a last second missed field goal. Was that performance good enough to prevent changes to the head coach, quarterback, or both for the Baltimore Ravens?
I think it should be both, but I do believe they need to make other major changes around John
Mhm.
Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. And that Baltimore Sun article always felt very strange. It came out of nowhere. It was a lot of reporting about Lamar and who he is as a person and how seriously he takes his job. And it felt very the timing was strange because obviously you've had a guy who's won multiple MVPs and we never heard about any of these problems when they were winning. And it felt like they took an opportunity where they had a down year to take a shot and it felt very personal. So I think now when you saw, especially that fourth quarter and some of the plays Lamar made, you saw him start to have a feeling of confidence in his legs. There were a couple times where he scrambled around. This wasn't by any stretch of the imagination a great Lamar performance, but it also, when it mattered, he made plays in the fourth quarter. And I don't think that John Harbaugh should be the one that leaves either. I think these two together should be moving forward into next year because at the end of the day, the reason that this team is where they are is because Lamar Jackson was injured most of this year. He had a hamstring injury. He had lingering other issues. And when Lamar Jackson cannot run the football, he is not the same quarterback. Period. End of story. And I don't really think we need to be looking for answers much far past that. And I don't care what anybody at the Baltimore Sun has to say.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with this. I think both guys need to stay put, right? They should.
Yeah,
They deserve, and I think that they've earned it over the past few years, right? This combination is one of the most winningest combinations in the entire NFL, right? And listen, it is very hard to win Super Bowls, right? You still have Shanahan and Purdy. That combination haven't won a Super Bowl yet. You still have Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. That combination hasn't won a
thank
Super
you.
Bowl yet. So we can't sit here and say, okay, well, the threshold is a Super Bowl, which is the most difficult thing to achieve in team sports, and say, you know what, if they can't win it, then break them up, right? I just don't agree with it. Now, to the Lamar Jackson point, right? And this is where people have to be honest with themselves. On that 4th and 7, if Lamar Jackson would have fumbled the football, if he would have threw an
Mhm.
interception, if it would have been an incompletion, everybody would have said, there goes Lamar Jackson choking once again, right? He
Yep,
made the play. I think this was a full circle moment. If you want to
I
wrap the
agree.
Baltimore Ravens season in a bow, their kicker missed a last second field goal, and their kicker, who they had as a Hall of Fame kicker, got suspended in June, right? They were
Yep.
prepped for this moment, and it's just been a
Yeah.
series of misfortunate events. Lamar Jackson getting injured, right? And we talked about that. So the Derrick Henry fumbling things. This is, you just wrap this up and you say, like, man, that was probably a one-off, right? That was a blip on the radar. If we had to go law of averages, Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh are not missing the playoffs, right? Derrick Henry is
Mhm.
not fumbling the football in every big time prime time game. I'm betting on that not happening. So I run it back with them, and I think for those people who are saying break it up, I mean, it's stop the silly shit, right? Like that. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. Stop the silly shit, man. We know that this is
Yep.
very difficult to win in the game in the NFL and football. Period.
And I think if we're looking at this team as a whole, one of the things we've expected of the Ravens, really in my entire lifetime, is being so good in the trenches. And their offensive line was good, but their D line, there was only one guy with 4 sacks this
They
year.
need an edge
They need
rusher.
to be. They had no, yeah, they have no pass rush. It caused the back end of their defense to have a lot of issues this year, put a
Mhm.
lot of stress on them. And Lamar Jackson not being in the game also caused this defense to have to be out on the field a lot. They also play against some of the most talented people. They play against Joe Burrow twice a year. They play against Aaron Rodgers. Like they have to be able to create a pass rush because it really hurt them. And you saw it in moments where if you can put Aaron Rodgers under pressure, you can make him uncomfortable. They couldn't do that. Not enough. And that's something they need to really look at themselves and go, okay, we need to be the Baltimore Ravens. We need to be the tough, both line, like on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the football. And they just weren't that team. That's their big weakness right now. And until that changes, they're not going to be a top tier team in the NFL.
Yep, and you know how I operate, right? And when it comes down to evaluating teams, right, and you identify holes, I feel as though that general manager jobs, you're talking about ownership and football operations, whatever it may be, right? Whatever your title is, your job is to evaluate your roster and improve year over year, right? And one of the biggest issues with the Baltimore Ravens offense has consistently been who's this second wide receiver, right? You have
Yep.
Zay Flowers, but who is that other wide receiver? And this hasn't been a conversation for 1 year, hasn't been a conversation for 2 years. We're going on 4 years of the
Yep.
same exact conversation. So if you want to address blame and place blame, that's one of the spots you need to associate blame to is that, you know
Agreed.
what, this roster needs to be more well-rounded, and you hit on the edge rusher position. That's been something that they've taken a swung at, even going way back to, was it the 2022 draft, my first draft with the Draft Network, and they had David Ajabo, and they took him in the second round. It's been since then, since they've been trying to find an edge rusher. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around. But let's talk about a team. Go ahead. What you got to say?
No, I was going to say, you saw DeAndre Hopkins, that moment, right, where him and Lamar were not on the same
Same
page when he
page. Yep.
wanted Hopkins to go further down the field. This is similar to what the Chiefs have done, right? Where because you have such a great quarterback, you feel you can get away with certain things. And let the Chiefs be a lesson. That's not how you win. You always need a complete team. This isn't the NBA, it's the NFL. You need a whole team around you to be successful. And this has been, like you said, it's been a problem for a long time. They need to go into this draft. They need to get a pass rusher and they need to get a second wide receiver that they can count on because as much as you like Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely had a massive catch, outside of that, you have Zay Flowers and a bunch of guys. You need another guy. You need a guy. And I would say you need a one because I
Mhm.
like Zay Flowers, but I think you need a big body wide receiver that can go up and get the football. And they haven't had that guy in a while.